And we're back with episode 5 of the Sage's Nook podcast. My name is Tom. You may know me by the Adventure Sage on all my handles and social media. This is my brother Mitch.
Fuck yeah!
We are both longtime DMs here to talk about anything and everything D&D. So without further ado, what's going on?
Getting crunk on a Monday.
That is true. We are drinking beer on a Monday.
I might have work tomorrow. I might have to wake up at 4:30.
You gotta have a beer when you're on the podcast.
I'll just stop my hangover by having another beer.
There you go. Yeah, just a couple of these bad boys to stop the shaking in the morning, and I'm good to go.
How am I supposed to roleplay a drunk asshole while we're playing if I'm not a drunk asshole? It's the same thing. If you want to play a barbarian, you can't play a barbarian unless you actually have a fucking 16 strength, okay?
It's method role playing.
Yeah. I'm the Joker. That's what I'm saying.
When I play a 20th level sorcerer, I actually become a 20th level sorcerer.
Yeah. If you can't cast magic, you can't play a fucking wizard.
I posted on TikTok a while ago, like a little exercise to help your players role play better. Like if they're like hesitant to like jump into their character or anything, I basically said like just keep asking them questions about how they're talking until they're actually role playing in first person. And someone commented and they're like, I shouldn't have to do this. Do you make the high strength character bench press 300 pounds? And I was like, dude, you're missing the entire point. But yes, I do. You cannot play a barbarian in my campaign unless you can bench 300 pounds.
Score one for the little guy.
But I think we should before we kind of really dive into things, we should talk about. Just want to check in. How's the My Little Pony campaign coming along?
First off, I'm free, baby. I got out. I caught the judge. The judge is also our DM. We caught him dice fudging at the table. The case was thrown out. I'm free, baby. Let's go.
Hey, can't flood your dice.
See? Our conversation last week reminded me of it. I was checking him. I saw him rolling his Avernus dice.
Mitch, understand, if you mess up another spell in my campaign, you will be banished to another My Little Pony campaign, and this one won't be in Avernus. This one will be in the Abyss, and it'll be harder to get out. And you will not only have to wear one fursuit, you will have to wear 2 fursuits.
At the same time. Fuck.
But yeah, we both got a nice ice cold beer. I forgot what I'm drinking. It's an amber. It's an amber lager. What do you got, Mitch?
I drink the same shit every time. Coors Banquet.
There you go. Some nice product placement. That'll get us demonetized immediately. Just kidding. These aren't monetized.
Sponsor us. Coors.
Yeah.
Coors.
You know what? No.
I'll drink a whole 12-pack on one of these podcasts if you sponsor us.
That's a really good point. We have no sponsors on this podcast, and considering that I think last time I checked, we were like number 7 in the world or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
We're actually like low key. We're actually catching up on Joe Rogan. So,
yeah, it'll be a pretty quick turnover. We'll be number 1 in probably a matter of months. But, anyways, yeah, we are looking for sponsors. That'd be cool if we could be like, hey, by the way, this podcast is brought to you by MeUndies or Pampers diapers or something. I don't know.
Yeah, or by the band Korn.
Yeah, Korn. If you want to sponsor us, that'd be cool. I don't really know any of you. I don't really know any of your music, but we'll figure it out. I'll learn it to get sponsored. All right, let's talk about D&D. Let's talk about roleplay.
One of my favorite subjects. What about roleplay?
I don't know.
All right, let's talk about how to roleplay your character better and how to fundamentally play as your character. I told you.
I don't know.
You just play what you are. I'm a drunk idiot.
There's a reason Mitch plays an alcoholic barbarian every campaign.
Yeah, I play a drunk asshole. Asshole to enemies, nice to my friends.
People do kind of lean towards an archetype. I usually tend to play spellcasters, and when I play something that isn't a spellcaster, generally don't like it.
Yeah,
it really depends on the campaign.
I tend to find that if I'm playing in one-shots, yeah, I can play kind of whatever, and it's fun. It's fun to deviate from what you normally play. But if I'm stuck in a campaign for a long time, I definitely want to play a character that I can shove myself into. Otherwise, it's like, it almost gets like tiring, or it's just like, it doesn't feel like real.
Because you want to evolve with your character, and you don't want your character to become stale. And I run into this issue well, I don't play as a player a lot, but I kind of run into this issue where once I get past the surface of the character I make, if I'm not extremely in love with them, then I'm like, duh, I'm bored.
Yeah, dude. You're not used to it. I'm making characters all the fucking time. My characters are always fucking crazy. Like weird ass shit.
Yeah, I don't get the chance to like really deep dive into characters. And I don't think this is a mistake, but for one of the campaigns that I am a player in, that Death Games campaign, really awesome campaign, really awesome premise, and I was really excited about my character going in. And me and my DM, who is also one of my players in my main campaigns, but I met up with him and I was like, I've never really gotten to like be part of like a complete linear campaign before, that like lasted an actual long time. I kind of want to get my edgy character in because I never got to get my edgy character in. But I also know the pitfalls of making the edgy character that everyone fucking hates. So I don't want to fall into that. So I was like, what if I make him so edgy that it's almost funny? And that was fun, but kind of like what we said, I think we might have talked about this on the podcast. If you make a character that is supposed to be funny, when they stop being funny, what's left? So I'm kind of running into that where like I was like, oh, he'll be so edgy, it's funny. So then I get my fix of having my one edgy character, but then also the party enjoys him. And I still think the party enjoys him, but I'm having trouble kind of figuring out places to bring him from of like a.
I think I know your problem. You're so used to creating an NPC, like a really well thought out NPC who's a funny guy, but their whole shtick is they're only there for that scene or like a couple scenes. When they come back and visit him, it's the same guy, You're not. I think you're used to making an NPC. It's like, oh, it's gonna be so great when this thing happens, or like when they talk to him and he's like in his little library. But then when you take that NPC out of his little library, he's just like dumbass librarian walking around with the party.
Yeah, I genuinely find it harder to be a player than a DM from my experience. Oh. And I know most people probably don't feel that way. I don't want to sound like I'm different. But I've generally, no one wants to be a DM. That's the epidemic of D&D. Everyone wants to play D&D. No one wants to be the DM. But I genuinely find it easier to be a DM because I have trouble kind of breaching that extra layer as a character where you really start thinking deep into them. I can create character concepts all day, but when it comes into like actually evolving them and giving them a really nice, satisfying arc, that's where I find it really challenging.
I don't think so that much. I mean, I don't think I've been given a ton of opportunity to do that. I did it with Chothar basically in that one long campaign we played. But besides that, my other campaigns haven't lasted that long. Besides,
well, we play one with Noah,
yes,
where he runs
the online one with Noah. I mean, yeah, I guess those are my three longest ones. But I feel like my characters, they'll grow, but it's more of my characters are more of their characters surface level kind of for a while. And then I'll really start to think about it on the back end, okay, let's kind of think more in depth about what's going on here. What's his actual thing he wants to do? Where's he going? What would he do if he came into this situation kind of thing? And I don't know, I'll just be thinking about that shit at the gym. And for me, I feel it's so easy to get into character as a player and really role play because I really don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks at the table. I'll care what they think in playing the game. But I'm gonna play the character I want to play. I'm not gonna be an asshole about it. But if my guy's a goofy elephant man and this is how I'm gonna play him, that's how I'm gonna play him.
Also, because you're a good enough player to understand that you're not gonna if someone's mad at you, it's not your fault.
Yeah,
it's their fault for having hangups. Because you never want to be the problem player in the party. But you also don't. You also want to play what you want to play. Uh-huh. So as long as it players can get mad, but
I tend to find that people are afraid of stepping on the other player's toes a lot. They're overly afraid to where they don't really make that fleshed out of a guy, or they're too worried about stealing the spotlight or whatever. You just have to know in the moments, if you, and I would say I'm generally a more charismatic person at the table, so I'll step into those spotlight moments more often. But if someone steps up, I take the back. You got to take the back seat. You just let them do it.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem that I ran into because one of my players is running this Death Games campaign, and if you don't know what it is, look, you really got to watch the previous episodes. This isn't a continuing story, but because sometimes it is.
This fucking
But
guy
anyways,
didn't watch the last episode.
There's one of my players who I DM for on a weekly basis. He is running a campaign like once a month, twice a month, where we're all in purgatory and we're trying to get back out. And it's this whole thing where it's really cool. But I don't get the chance to be a player a lot, and most of these people only know me as a DM. So we're playing with the same exact group, except I am not a DM, and one of my players is now a DM. So when I was making my character, I was like, I do not want to be the face of the party. I do not want to be that DM that comes in and is like, oh, well, I'm the leader because I am the DM. So obviously I'm the face of the party, but I'm really good. I'm really good at like that kind of face like role. Like I'm very good at just kind of like thinking on my feet in a role play perspective.
Yeah.
And like being comfortable taking the lead. But I made a character that has a horrible charisma and it's just the edgy kind of loner guy to avoid doing that, and I kind of wish I would have just trusted what I wanted to do. Yeah.
Yep. You play the fun, weird build character to get your shit out on the one shot.
Yeah.
Not on the long form campaign.
I made a rookie mistake, and I still like my character. I still like him. I feel like at this point there's not much more I can do with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there is, but
I think you just need to think of other avenues to go down. Like where what about your guy's family, or maybe like he's haunted by something.
He doesn't have a family.
Or well, your friends don't know that.
Yeah, they do.
Well, have the DM throw like a curveball at you.
my guy. Well, here's the thing. My guy's backstory is his family were his mom and dad were cultists of Baal, the god of death, or not death. It was the god of like murder. They sacrificed themselves to Baal and then gave him me. So essentially the whole shtick of this guy is that he was a warlock in life that was just getting passed around to patrons. So like Baal would sell me to a Fey patron, and then the Fey patron would sell me to a patron in the Shadowfell. And like every time I thought like, oh, I can get out of this thing if I just follow this person, then they would be just as bad.
Mm-hmm.
So like his whole shtick in the campaign is he wakes up and they're technically dead because it's in the death games. We're in like this purgatory state, and for the first time he doesn't have someone controlling him. So he's like, holy shit, there's no one in my head. But then it's this whole weird thing of like, at first he was like, well, I don't know if I want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one in my head. And that's kind of when I realized, I was like, oh, I made a bad character. Because the whole point of this campaign is that you have to want to go back to life. And I was like, wait, nope. I made a pretty interesting guy that doesn't really fit the campaign because he didn't really want to leave now.
Well, you're the classic anti-hero sidekick of the whole movie who then turns bad at the end. Like all those characters everyone's trying to escape from something or do something, and then he's like, well, we had it good where we were at. We don't need to go back. And they turn on the main guy right when they're about to get out. Like in The Maze Runner. The dude who plays
Yeah.
Adam Warlock, right at the end, he's like, we had it good in there. We should go back. We don't know what's on the outside. And then he turns evil.
But he's still evolving. Like he's realized he's never had friends before. He's just been this like merchant of death that just works for patrons. And he's just like this soldier assassin. And then in the game I played him, or in the campaign I play him as an Eldritch Knight instead of a warlock. So he still has some of that ability, but he's more of like a fighter type. But like he's realizing, oh, this is what it's like to have friends. I've never had anyone that I could be close to. And then he's also realizing like Death, who runs the death games, he's realizing like in a way that Death is kind of their patron because he's like forcing them to play these games. And now he's kind of like, oh, well, fuck this guy. I'm going to kill him too if he's kind of trying to control me. But so there is progression happening, but I feel like from a like an inner thoughts standpoint, dude, shut the fuck up.
Sure.
So from an inner standpoint, there's not much else I can take him. It's kind of more surrounding like what's around him now. Does that make sense?
I think that's cool. I think what you should do is revisit his backstory and add some shit to it and give it to your DM. So since you don't really have much going on, because your backstory kind of left him open book, kind of like he's like a clean slate in here, dude. if he's been passed around all these dudes, he's for the streets. He's a booty call. These demon lords want to get in contact with him again. They're going to try and reach him in the death planes. They're going to be called, hey,
here's the thing.
Win for me. No, win for me.
There was one moment in the campaign. We're like probably like 8 or 9 sessions into the campaign, which probably doesn't seem like a lot, but it actually is. We've had a lot of story, and we're past the halfway point now. But there was one point, I can't remember exactly what we were doing, but I killed someone, and I heard a voice creep into my head, and I was like, hello? But then it never happened again. So I'm like, either my DM's playing the long game, we forgot about that. So, but he also, like, our DM is really good too. He's like, because we go back into these like dream sequences and stuff of our previous life, and he was like, tell me a time that's very like kind of like an overview of how Judah's life has been. His name's Judah. And I was like, oh, well, you know, he sees like a family of deer on the side of the road, like, you know, the mom's licking her babies and shit. And he's like, oh shit, I never had that. And then like his patron is like, what the fuck are you looking at? And he's like, I'm sorry, nothing. He just keeps walking. So there's moments of humanity and stuff, but I feel like, and you know what? Maybe it's just a problem of I'm used to being everybody. So the fact that like I don't have a constant arc to pursue, maybe I'm just having a DM syndrome.
Oh, he's having a mid-game crisis.
Yeah, like maybe I'm like, oh shit, like I didn't have any big thing to say this session. Did I do something wrong? No, I'm just a player.
You're just a little pawn. You're just a little pawn in the big chess game.
Yeah, it's kind of a foreign thing to me. I don't think I'm super good at it, but you just got to keep doing it.
I will say, I feel like I'm a better player than a DM. I mean, I've DM well, not of recent, but I DM all the time, just because no one else will. But I have my own homebrew and stuff, like World, and it's cool, and I love making the story and things like that. But I would much rather play. Like, I love playing a character and discovering what's gonna happen. I love like mystery. I love uncovering story. It's my favorite thing to do is role play with NPCs who I've never met before, and then kill them. But yeah, so I love making crazy characters, and oh, it's great.
Yeah, I think you make really good characters.
Thanks. Yeah, well, the thing is, my characters are weird. You gotta make a cool character that's not generic. Gotta make your guy weird. He's gotta be weird. Thaddeus
but
the
not
Purple.
A joke.
Not a joke. They're the idea of them is almost a joke, but then I flesh it out into an actual character. Like, because at the table, I'm not thinking like, oh, this is gonna be a joke character. I'm thinking like, no, the way this guy role plays and acts at the table is gonna make people laugh because it's weird or crazy. Thaddeus the Purple. He was literally he was a warlock. He was literally a dwarf that ate cheese, and he got turned into a warlock because it was like abyssal cheese, and it turned him into a serial killer, and he eats people. But he was still a good guy. It's just bad guys who they kill. He's like a
Dexter.
Yeah, he'd like steal their fingers and shit, and he'd have like tons of food in his pockets all the time. Yeah. And people
he was such a good character. I made him an NPC in my previous campaign.
Yeah, dude, I love him because he's like, who's playing a serial killer in the D&D party? And he's like his skin is solid purple, and he's always sweating, and he's got purple and black hair, and his eyes look like demonic purple eyes, but he's just a regular dwarf at heart.
He's just a guy that ate the wrong piece of cheese. We've all been there.
Yeah, he's just crazy, and like you got to have a well thought out aura around your character. Like you could play a more generic guy and just kind of take a back seat, but I knew since I was playing a warlock too, I knew it'd be more front and center. There even things like we're passing by, we're on a cart. It was like Lost Mines of Phandelver was what we were playing. And we're passing by like a family on a cart, and like they stop next to us, they're talking to somebody else. And my guy just like pokes his head out of the top of the cart, and I just have him just, as the family goes away, I tell Tom, I'm like, yeah, my guy just stares at them like this as they move past and go into the distance. And until they're out of sight, and then he just goes back to what he's doing. And everyone was like, okay. They thought it was funny, but it's not like a joke. It's like, No, my guy's a fucking psycho. And it's funny at the table. Everyone's laughing. It is what it is. It is what it is. You gotta come up with those crazy guys. Those crazy guys.
Yeah, you're playing a cactus bounty hunter.
I was.
Here's the thing. Yeah, you were playing. That made me. That's one thing, and we talked about this in the first episode, I think, of how to change your character. Mitch and I just went through some character changes. I do like the dwarves that we're playing now. Mitch and I are playing 2 dwarf barbarian brothers in one of our friends' campaigns, and they're really fun because they're like the classic fucking dwarves.
Yeah, they're like fire slayers from Warhammer.
Yeah, just caution to the wind, angry barbarians, love killing, have a super strict familial bond. But before that, Mitch was playing like a cactus. He was playing an Eladrin artificer that was themed as a cactus.
Yeah,
cactus person bounty hunter.
Cactus sheriff cowboy. He was like a bandito.
He was really cool.
Yeah,
but it's like
he had a gun. He had like a robot arm.
In concept, you're like, what the fuck is that? But then he plays him, and you're like, oh, that's actually really cool. It was so cool, and I was playing kind of this again, kind of falling into the stereotype. I don't get to be the player a lot, so I like to do all the tropey stuff when I do. I was playing kind of this horny bard. He was a lore bard, so he was kind of like this nomadic, very smooth, suave figure, and he would just write stories of all of his, of all of his escapades. He would link up with women, and they'd go do all these cool things and blah blah blah, and he'd travel the world, and then he'd write stories about it.
Horny bard. That's what he was.
Yeah, just a traveling horny bard that kind of like kept a lore book of all of his adventures. Hence, he's a lore bard, and he just wanted something. He had like this cool like artifact book that he would write in. But anyways, I didn't realize how much I liked that character until we had to kill them.
Yeah, I really didn't want to kill my character. And then it kind of turned out it's like, oh, we have to kill them now. And I was like, okay.
Dude, me and Noah, who's the DM, we both brought this up to Noah. We're like, I think we want to, we got TPK'd essentially. And he's like, hey, you're all captured, but if you want to switch your characters, now's the time to do it. So Mitch and I were like, yeah, I think we're going to switch to being dwarf barbarians. Noah was like, okay. And then I was probably like a month later, me and Noah were drunk at a bar, and I was talking about it because in the session where we switched characters, we actually ended up having to kill our old characters. Our dwarves had to kill our old characters who were mind controlled. But right before they died, they snapped out of the mind control. So Noah was like, what are your last words? And granted, I was drunk at a bar. But Noah, when I was talking about this with Noah and I was like recollecting the moment, I literally shed a tear. It made me sad.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't think I was ready to do that, actually. I was really excited to play a dwarf barbarian, but when I had to actually kill my old guy, I was like, should I have done that?
Yeah, I was the same way, because I love Saguaro. Saguaro was awesome, but we had, obviously Windrose came out with their album. We're like, oh, we got to play Dwarf Barbarians. This is the game we're playing. Maybe we'll play them for a while and see what happens. I didn't realize that immediately after switching our characters, our other characters are going to get mind controlled and we'd have to kill them. Nothing against Noah. It was a cool plot point and story thing. But as me, I'm like, I really didn't want to do that.
Yeah. But we took a part of their bodies just in case someone has a resurrection.
I am 100%. My main goal is to find true resurrection somewhere and get my guy back up.
We did a little little pro gamer move.
Yeah, Saguaro Deadeye. He always spit in a fake platoon that wasn't there.
Dead chat.
Pole barrel.
But I don't know how we got on this topic.
We're talking about role-playing characters and making cool characters.
Oh, I think the thing, and I've made some good characters too. I feel like every character I've talked about so far, I'm like, yeah, I just don't actually like them a lot. But no, I've made some really good characters that I really, really like. I think the key to making good characters, especially as I watch my players, and I think all of my players are better players than I am. I think the key to them is just a really genuine theme. In my opinion, I don't think you should base your character off of like a race or a class. You should base them off of a theme and then build their race and class around that theme.
Theme, presentation are the two main factors, and it all sprouts from a good idea, not the rules of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Not the rules of the game. You always want to come up with a good idea for a character that you think is cool, that you want to play, and you get excited to play it. You like don't think about like, oh, what class or rate. I hate every time someone asks to make a character. I mean, granted, sometimes it's like, well, what do I want to play, and then that kind of makes the character. I almost always think of character ideas before I choose the race and class, and so many times I see people, and they're just like, oh, well, I really want to play a paladin, and like they're just like building out their character, and there's no thought of like who the character is or anything even before they're making it. You know, it's like, oh, I'll figure that all out later. It's like, well, you want to play the class, which is fine. Some people play that way. They want to. It's a game.
I mean,
like,
yeah. I mean, I lean towards casters.
Yeah, but you always got to start with that idea first.
Because that's where like the inspiration comes from, like down to the spells you choose and down to what subclass you're going to take and all of that, your background, all of that shit. It comes from the idea of like what you want the vibe of your character to be. Like both of my favorite characters that I've ever played are in Mitch's campaigns. Both of them we never finished. So just want to point that out. But I got Judah, Zach, Sora. I have two characters named Judah. Do not get them confused. The one in Death Games is named Judah, but there's also one in Mitch's campaign named Judah, who's this blade singer wizard. It was a kind of a 4-shot, a 3-shot, like this very mini kind of contained arc in Mitch's world, which is a whole other topic because Mitch is running a 1-shot to build lore in his world, which is a whole thing that we should talk about because it's really cool. It's a really cool concept. But anyways, so I made this wizard. We started at level 11, so I had a lot of room to kind of do whatever I wanted. I made this wizard who was an elf, but he was so old and he knew that his life was ending eventually coming up. So he made an automaton and like transferred his sentience into it. So now he's just this immortal warforged blade singing wizard robot who's fucking awesome. And I built him specifically so like he essentially novas and like he casts Fizzban's Platinum Shield and then he activates his blade song and his AC is like a 26 and he's just this absolute for once a day he just goes Super Saiyan.
Yeah. He's like an anime character. It's like he fights normal, he's losing. He's like, I can't lose. And he turns on all of his shit and then goes ham.
Yeah, exactly.
You were saying something about.
Oh well, I was gonna dive into
the.
The theme is, the theme was that like I was like, well, what if there was this wizard that got sick, this elf wizard that's practically immortal, and the one thing that could kill him happened where he got sick and now he's like, fuck, I'm gonna waste my immortality, so now I gotta build myself a body. So he's like this super smart genius, but then with his new body, because Warforged have like certain like buffs and strengths, with this new body he's not just a book smart guy anymore, he's fucking strong.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a robot.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it came off that idea.
Yeah.
Of essentially like, what if a wizard became a Terminator?
But yeah, it's all about theme and idea. You so have to heavy hand that. I remember in one of Tom's campaign, I wanted to play an edgy character. The idea of him was kind of like almost like Batman-esque. He was a dwarf. He was also a bounty hunter kind of guy. And he was a ranger, but he wasn't actually a ranger. He was a blood hunter. Because I wanted to play a werewolf and keep it a secret to the rest of the party.
You did the old Chetney reveal.
I did the old Chetney reveal. Where I wanted to be a werewolf and have it come out. It would be cool. But so I was playing a ranger who basically like never used any abilities. I just threw axes at shit, which was cool. I wanted like an axe throwing dwarf. It's not like the best build, but like you can build a strong character, but like you don't necessarily always have to focus on that. And yeah, so I wanted him to be a werewolf, so I was like, okay, well, how do I build him that way? I'm like, okay, I'll probably go 3 levels of blood hunters. And then like we kind of got to that point. He revealed he was a werewolf. No one really cared, which was fine.
I think it was a weird thing because we were all online too. So like Mitch described this and you're expecting everyone to be like, oh shit, whoa. But it's easier to like be involved when you're at the table. So yeah. I think you would have gotten a much bigger reaction if we were all actually sitting in person.
Everyone just was like, okay.
Yeah, people were just like.
I was like, oh man. I was like, oh, okay. I was trying to like hide things from the whole campaign, like for the first like 4 sessions, whatever. But that was funny. But then I was like, well, I'm a werewolf. Like, I really want my guy to maybe be like sneaky or like be darker and edgier and grittier. So then I kind of came up with the idea before selecting what I wanted to do. It's like I really want him to be darker and edgier and have like a ton of attacks. Like I really want him to go like almost like berserk, like as a werewolf. And so then I came across, why don't I go fighter so I can get action surge that'll have tons of attacks. And I was like, I'll go Echo Knight, and then I can have a fucking Shadow Wolf with me while we're like 2 werewolves. One's a shadow with glowing red. It fleshes out the character, and I then build him accordingly to make that cool idea happen.
Yeah, which makes good characters.
I make cool guys. What can I say? It's and you know, my game knowledge makes it so that I can kind of make the idea I want to work with also like a powerful character at the table, because I know how to make a strong character. So it's a lot of people will immediately go, okay, well, I'm going to make a really, really powerful guy, and then flesh it out, which is fine. You can play the game that way. I don't see how that's very fulfilling. Like, I feel like
it's cool in concept.
It's cool in concept. In combat, you're like, oh my God, I just slaughtered that guy. And then you got to sit there for 2 hours with the guy who's only good in combat, and you have no actual foundation for what you want your character to be. And then it's like, okay, well, I don't care about playing this guy unless I'm in combat smiting for 8,000 damage. But yeah, it's like, I could just go through I love all my characters. That's the thing. You have to love your characters. And if you don't, then you change them or you can switch. But like, I almost never get to that point because I love the character going into the game because I've well thought out who they are and what they want to do. So I think back, like I'll think back to characters I play. I'm like, dude, I fucking love playing as that guy. I love playing at the table. It just makes me happy. Like when I think, when I was playing Deciduous, who was he was like Treebeard, but like a normal sized dude. And he talked really slow. But he was like an old man and like a wizard. And he had like a big snowy beard on his pine tree like face. That's the thing. You can stretch the bounds of what D&D is. He's an Eladrin. Eladrin are elves with like leaf accents in their hair and shit.
Oh yeah, they're like fey elves that are themed from the seasons.
Yeah, so they'll have like if they're summer, they'll have like orange or yellow skin and then like hair that kind of almost flows like wheat or something like that. But I went the winter kind, and they'll have like little snowy accents or like pine needles or whatever. I was just like, nah, he's just a fucking tree.
That's the second time you've done that twice now. You just themed an Eladrin like a tree.
Yeah, and then I did it for Saguaro. I chose Summer Eladrin. I'm like, what's the summer plant? He's a fucking cactus. Okay, because I wanted to make a cowboy southern bounty hunter character. I'm like, what's a Eladrin? Oh, okay, cactus. That's cool. That's kind of gritty. And then I was thinking, I was like, let's think of some cactus names. So then I just typed in cactus names, and a name of like the most famous cactus, Saguaro. That's a cool fucking name.
Yeah.
So it blossoms. If you're creative and you love making characters, it just happens. And obviously that takes time and practice, and you have to let go of your predisposition to kind of like, oh well, if I'm making a fighter, okay, well he's got to be like a soldier and he's got to wear his armor. And no, fuck that. Think of your guy beforehand and then make the rules bend to his character, not your character bending to the class.
That was a really good kind of way to cap that off. Because you know what time it is? We skipped it last time.
Fuck,
but we're back this time.
We're coming back with some heat with the wisdom check.
Wisdom check. We got one question today. Because I'm pretty sure we're already at like 40 minutes. We like rambling. What can I say? Anyways, the question. This one is from Rage Man, who's actually one of our friends that we play D&D with. He says, "Hello, gentlemen. I was wondering how to handle a vibe change in the campaign. Like the players don't seem to be more or less getting along, or thematically the characters and their stories are conflicting. Say one character is a part of some type of order or group, and another player is seeking to destroy everyone from said order. How would you go about navigating those tenser situations?" So this is a pretty jam-packed question. There's a lot of different little points and everything here. Mitch, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I can start. So it seems like the vibe of the campaign changing of like there's party conflict is kind of what the question seems to be getting at. Party conflict, and then he gives the example of somebody has to kill this order and whatever. Like, oh, it's a holy paladin, there's a necromancer in the party. They don't like each other. it kind of goes back to our other episode 3 episodes ago. Go back and watch that shit, fuckers. It goes back to our other episode where we were talking about playing an evil character. And for this to happen, it doesn't necessarily have to be an evil character. It could be like warring nations or enemy factions. But you kind of have to play it the same way where you all have a common goal and you're trying to accomplish the same thing. So you kind of have to work together, you know? Yeah, they're doing bad stuff, but it's for good reasons. Or you view them as bad, but it's for good reasons, what they're doing. Because they're trying to help each other and accomplish a goal, you know? Let's think of some examples of people who've worked together who didn't like each other. Boromir, the whole time, they thought he was fishy.
Boromir and Aragorn,
they're butting heads the whole time.
The whole time they're literally at odds because Boromir's treading this line of, all right, first off, fuck you, you're not my king. I don't care if you're supposed to replace my dad. But then also, he's also like, we're weak and we need you. It's weird because Boromir's this, I'm going to go on a slight tangent here. If you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, fuck you. I'm going to leave my tangent now. That's all I had to say. But Boromir is this...
No, I'll continue it for you. Go fuck yourself. Go watch that shit now. Spend the 13 hours to watch that shit right fucking now. That's the basis of all modern fantasy.
It is the best. It is also the best thing ever put to film. And it's not even an argument. It's like, it's not even fucking subjective.
It's objective.
It is objective. Lord of the Rings is the most ambitious, technological marvel, beautiful story that's ever been put to cinema. And there's no question about it.
Yeah, and like it really hasn't aged at all either. Like, we're totally derailing from this question, but like it hasn't really aged at all either, except for like some of the animation in some of the movies. But like, it's really, because it's an older movie, they don't use the animation as much like they do in the modern shit. So you can just ignore it. Like, it's mainly on real sets and like filmed on site. So like when there is some animation, it looks a little janky, or it's like for a second. In modern movies, it looks like shit. So it really hasn't aged that bad, and it still looks great for the most part. Like the Balrog scene is insane still. It still looks amazing. It's just, I mean, they won like 28 Academy Awards or some shit when their movies came out.
Oscars.
Like they just won everything because they were so groundbreaking movies, and they're very emotionally intelligent movies, but also super action packed, and the story's great. Fuck you if you haven't seen that shit. Go watch it, and then I won't say fuck you anymore. Let's continue with the question. Sorry. Boromir
and Aragorn, they're constantly at odds because they are all marching towards the same goal most of the time. But they understand that there's like this rivalry. Boromir is the son of the steward of Gondor, and Aragorn is the rightful heir to Gondor. So there's this dichotomy between them of like, they should kind of hate each other, and they kind of do, but most of the time they put their differences aside for the good of Frodo, and that's kind of what you need to do in your campaign. If your characters are at complete odds with each other, there needs to be something for them to put their differences aside. And honestly, it's a little bit on the DM, but it is more on you as players to find that common ground, to be like, all right, I hate you and you hate me, but this thing in front of us that the DM is jangling in front of our face, this is more important. So we need to cast that aside.
You do the classic, like, listen, when we're done with this, I will take your head for my people, but this ring is more important right now, and your skill set is great. You know, like you have to, as a player at the table, you have to interact with each other somehow like that.
X-Men 2, one of the best X-Men movies ever. Magneto and the X-Men have to work together because Stryker's trying to kill all the mutants.
Yeah, and they fucking hate each other, but they're like, we're both mutants. We're both people. We're both people in Middle-earth. This ring gets into that guy's hand, we're gonna die. So we gotta put our differences aside. And, you know, Rage Man is a character in my campaign. Just to put it into context, like, hypothetically, if you were at odds with a player in your party for our current campaign, hey, we hate each other, but we're both in this party together and we have a common goal. We have to go kill that dragon because whatever it's doing, it's bad. It's just leveled the city we lived in. So we got to go stop that, and we'll have to put our differences aside for now. We'll deal with it when it comes up.
Yeah, that has to do with I mean, this all ties back to good role play, right? You got to put yourself in the mindset of your character. Like if you imagined you were in that world and you were like, man, this guy that I'm traveling with, he's a fucking douchebag. God, I hate him. Oh, there's a dragon up there. Okay, that is number one priority now. There's a dragon in the sky. I don't care if this guy's a douchebag anymore. I'm trying not to die.
Yeah, I don't want to get eaten.
Yeah. So it's like, how would you react to that in a real world situation? If you were next to the kid that bullied you in school and then a dragon flew out of the air, all of a sudden that bully doesn't seem so important.
Dude, let's go hide in the closet. Like, like you're going together. Like, holy fuck, there's a. That's like Timmy. That's like Timmy and John on the playground. Two little kids. Fucking Princess the Pitbull's walking around the corner. Get on the slide! Fucking charge up there. He just kicked your sandcastle over. He threw sand in your face. But Princess the Pitbull's coming. We gotta hide in the fucking jungle gym.
Yeah, Princess the Pitbull, the baby eater.
Yeah.
Pitbulls are nice, so we're not saying anything.
It's a meme. It's a meme.
It's a meme. It's a meme.
You had to be there.
But there's so many different, there's so many instances of that, and especially in movies that we're probably forgetting about. But like, yeah, Aragorn and Boromir, Magneto and the X-Men teaming up. It's a tale as old as time. The guys that don't like each other team up to beat the greater evil.
And the thing is, as a player, you have to understand that for the D&D game, unless it's like very like plot oriented, like, okay, this makes a lot of sense for the story, you have to understand that like you shouldn't be killing the other player, and they shouldn't be doing it vice versa to you. So as a player, you kind of have to like almost like convince your own guy, like, okay, well, I can't kill him for now. And like kind of like third person from the table, like, let me try and think of a way to where we can work together, even though my character's not supposed to like him.
Yeah, and like, don't be opposed to like in the game taking the high road too. This kind of goes to like a thing. This kind of ties back to a real life circumstance of like being at the table, especially like, you know, when you're all drinking and stuff, and like don't get butthurt when someone, you know, it talks shit about your character or something. We're all role playing.
Yeah.
Just chill. We're playing a game. If someone's character calls your character, you know, it starts making fun of your character, don't get mad in real life. We're playing a fucking game.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, the thing is, if you make fun of my characters in games, specifically for me, my characters are funny. I know. It's fine. Bring it on. My guy's a fucking serial killer whose skin is purple.
Yeah, like,
yeah, I get it.
This ain't a pissing contest.
Yep.
Even if your characters are enemies, don't let that come above the table and like actually start getting to you as a person. You're just having fun and playing a game, and there are so many stories where the characters do hate each other and they say horrible things to each other, and then they come together in the end as an exercise. Maybe, you know, if there's a character that is really kind of like grating on your character, use it as a role play exercise to be like, okay, even if it's making you mad in real time as a real person, just be like, okay, you know what? Actually, I'm going to try and win this person over. I'm going to win this character over. Instead of just getting angry above table and then swinging at the character's head and trying to kill them, I'm actually going to take the higher road, and I'm going to try and understand them and be their friend and grow as a character and have an arc rather than just turning to anger and rage and have development.
Sounds good to me.
Or just swing and chop off their head if you want. I don't know what campaign you're running.
If the story calls for it and he turns into a fucking monster, have at it. But you never know.
Moral of the story is, to answer your question, after another 20-minute tangent, to answer your question, if you're going to be two characters that are heavily conflicting with each other, this kind of supersedes everything we just talked about. Make sure that your group is okay with that, like party conflict. That's kind of like one of those main things that you need to check in with your players before you even start the campaign of like, hey, are we okay if party conflict is tackled? We've said this before. We love party conflict, but some people don't like that.
Or just like you as a player, talk to the other player that you guys are at odds with. Like, you guys aren't at odds above the table. Like, I know it's hard to separate your character from yourself, but like, that's not you. That's not them. Talk above the table and be like, dude, we should totally like be assholes to each other all the time in the fucking game. Like, just say that. Dude,
that's what Mitch and I did in Noah's campaign. So to give a very brief backstory, so we don't go into another lore dump.
Yeah, let me say this first part. Me and Tom made characters. I made Saguaro. He made Londo.
Londo.
Londo, the horny bard. I made Saguaro, the bounty hunter, tough, gruff, basically the announcer from Home Depot. But they both joined the campaign. My first thought, I wasn't gonna be a douchebag to anybody. My guy was just gonna be like kind of like just a stern kind of like, he's a bounty hunter. He's there for a job. But
Like
then
the hard guy.
and I was playing like a southern character. He's gonna go in there, and the first word out of Tom's mouth, he's role playing a southern guy too, and I was like, "Fuck, I gotta hate this guy."
I was role playing more of like a.
That's my first thought. I'm like, okay, my guy gotta hate this guy.
I was role playing. He was like tough Southern, like very gritty, but I was role playing more of like a Theo Von type Southern, like, "Hey man, all right, yeah, come on, come on," and yeah. But our characters. So essentially, long story short, there's this one very particular NPC that is very integral to the whole plot, and it's a girl named Serafina. Serafina was one of my past flings, and it was kind of like, you know, the one girl that got away from me. Like, we had all these adventures together, and then for whatever reason, life pulled us apart, and I haven't seen her since. So when I had inklings, or when I like was finding evidence that she was involved in this the plot that we were in, my character was like, "Oh my, you know, Serafina, what's going on? I need to find her." Saguaro, as far as I know, had orders to kill her. He had a bounty for Serafina. And once we kind of realized that, like, we were discording, we'd talk, and I'd be like, "Dude, we're totally gonna fucking fight at some point."
Oh,
And,
dude, I did second blood. Londo kind of started getting suspicious of me because I was really withholding information about why I was there. And he was starting to get suspicious, and he kind of was thinking like, okay, he's here for this girl. He's here for the same reason I am, but it's malintent. And so we're going on a quest. I think he was like, I think he punched me or something. I think you punched me.
Yeah, I might have.
I think you punched me, or you did something to like, basically like bitch out my character and like physically. And I was just like, all right. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm not gonna forget that. Saguaro's not gonna forget that. He'll take the high road for now, but he's gonna get mine. I'm gonna get mine. That's what I thought in my head. This douchebag ain't doing that to me. So I was an artificer, so you can do the little artificer like modules you can put on people, make them shine lights or make smells or whatever. And we're all swimming towards a boat. I'm using face step in between the rocks towards the boat. There's sharks in the water. And we're all fighting the sharks, and everyone's swimming. I'm on the rocks, and I'm like, perfect opportunity. Sharks are going to attack my boy Londo now. And I made his sensor turn off and turn on to blood. So it smelled like blood all around him in the water. And I said that, I'm like, I'm going to make his sensor smell like blood, and then I'm going to keep shooting the sharks so that they're focusing him. I'm not killing him, but I'm just like, deal with this, douchebag. That was great. I love that. And immediately he's like, "You bitch."
And that's the thing, is like, we, even out of the game, I was like, dude, I can't wait, because eventually, you know, eventually we're gonna find Serafina, and I can already see where this is going. I'm gonna try to save her. You're gonna try to kill her, and we're gonna fucking duke it out, and one of us is gonna die.
But you role play past it for the time being.
But you role play past it because we were like, you know, and it's like, it's the thing is, my guy didn't tell him that. It's and I were talking above the table because, you know, you could see where it's going.
Yeah, we're here for the same reason, different cause.
Yeah, but it's like, it's kind of like the flip side of this. If your characters are at odds with each other, fucking enjoy it and eat it up, and don't get in this whole like, "Oh, well, my character has to be better than yours, or I'm bet." What? Who fucking? You're in a party. You all have different strengths.
Yeah, it's not a dick measuring contest.
Yeah, like, you don't have to be better than everyone else. Enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that your characters don't like each other, and play into it. Yeah. Play into that shit and eat it up. It makes for good role play. It makes for spicy storytelling.
It does. It does. I love playing Saguaro and having banter with you. And then it kind of came to a fruition of like, we finally did find her, and it turned out she was fucking evil. At least it seems that way. And like we got into a fight with her, and Londo kind of had this like mental switch of like, oh, this is not the same person I was with before. And then after that, we became like Southern buds, like because we kind of aligned our goals.
Because you went down in that fight. We were.
Oh yeah, I think I jumped. No, that was not me. That was someone else. Jumped through the firewall and fucking died. But
yeah, there was this giant firewall obscuring us from like our objective, and we didn't really know how to get around it. So one of our party members was just like, "Fuck it, I'm jumping through." He jumps through, takes too much damage, and immediately just falls unconscious.
Yeah, it rolls onto the other side.
Yeah, but we were fighting Seraphina, and sorry, go ahead, Mitch.
So I was the only one in the party who had a way to get around this because there's multiple entrances, but we're up on a tower and the elevator's broken to get down. I had like a potion that allowed me to fly like an air elemental or something. So I was like, I can get over there. So I drank that potion. I went in. That's my target. I'm going in to go kill her. So I was fighting her alone for a little bit.
Yeah. And then we all finally got through the firewall. I don't even remember how at this point. But when I saw her, I was like, oh, shit. Saguaro's going to kill my girl. She started like talking all her shit and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, this ain't the girl that I liked a long time ago. Something's changed. And she put Saguaro down. And in my head, I was
she
like,
lightning bolted me, I think, and I just I collapsed. I couldn't take it. I was fighting for my life in there, and the boys show up, and they see her just spear me with a fucking lightning bolt.
Yeah, so he went unconscious, and I was like, oh shit, this is because from my perspective, from Londo's perspective as well, I didn't see this confrontation going this way. I saw Seraphina at the mercy of Saguaro with a gun to her head, and me having to fight Saguaro out of it, but she's the one actually killing Saguaro now. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? So I was like screaming, I was like, Seraphina, stop! What's going on? Stop! She wouldn't stop, so I was like, fuck it. So I threw something at her. I can't remember what level we were at this point, but I threw something at her. I picked up Saguaro, and I was like, fuck it. If we have to kill her right now, we have to kill her right now. I'm not gonna let her kill my friends. Yeah, then we were kind of buddies.
And we became Southern buds. Like we became a dynamic duo for a little bit.
Then we fucking died together.
And then we fucking killed our own characters. Fuck.
Well, we were kind of in this lull of the campaign where like not a lot was happening with our characters, and our characters are pretty complex. In this campaign, for all the good it is, it's not the most like complex campaign. Plots are, very simple, just very kind of straight to the point. You got to go here and kill this person. You got to do this and you got to do this. Me and Mitch were like, are we going to be explored anymore as characters? Because if not, I kind of want to just build a dwarf that fucking hits things. We're in the plane of fire. We got to fight our way out. I kind of want to fight her. We didn't have a proper tank in the campaign either. Like we got TPK'd because our party comp was just not very good.
It was like a bunch of like half casters and squishy people. Like we get thrashed.
So we were like, should we just become barbarians and fucking complete our party and kind of save these characters for another time? Literally like 2 sessions later, Seraphina showed up again.
I know. I was like, oh,
I was like, fuck. But hey, look, I told him, I said, hey, we can if you want to take us on our arc where we resurrect our old characters, we're open to that.
Yeah, if you want.
Who knows?
I'm down.
I like our dwarfs.
I mean, our dwarves are there to serve a purpose. So like, once they kind of solve that purpose, they don't necessarily have much more story to pursue. So
yeah, our dwarves are very much centered around this current arc.
Also, we kind of have a problem now where, well, I guess Adam switched his thing too, but he wasn't there for last session. We kind of have a problem now where we don't have a smart guy anymore because I was the smart guy and we changed to 2 dumb barbarians to fill that gap of the party of no muscle, no strength. And now we don't have a smart guy. And I was like, oh, like we got to a machine and we didn't know what the fuck to do with it. It was like a nuclear reactor and the fire
we started destroying it.
Yeah, we started destroying it. And then Tom, because Tom and me are brother dwarves. I'm the smaller one. So he'll like use me as a weapon and shit. So
yeah,
so he picked me up and just chucked me at the fucking bomb in the middle of the room and it blew up. So we're still having fun. It's not like we're not having fun. We love our new guys too.
Anyways, hey Rage Man, hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Us rambling about shit that doesn't involve your question at all.
No, it does, because our characters hated each other and then they came back. But
yeah. So you have to above table acknowledge you're not actually gonna hate each other. Like, you hate each other in the game, but like you shouldn't as a player actually be getting mad about this other person's character unless they're doing shit in roleplay that like legitimately like fucks up the party. There's like no reason to actually get really mad at them.
I think you just need to remember this. There's a couple core rules here to kind of expand on what Mitch just said. One, make sure that your party's okay with that in the first place. But beyond that point, enjoy it. Make it fun. Make the rivalry fun.
You're playing a game to have fun. If somebody's an asshole in the party, it's not like, oh, well, this guy's a bully, I got to take care of him. You know, it's like, no, he's a douchebag, you deal with him, you got bigger things to deal with. Maybe you bitch him out in one of the episodes or something.
Yeah, and like, honestly, in my opinion, the more dramatic you are in game with your role play, the more you can kind of remove yourself from it as a player. So like if you go on this big dramatic monologue as a player, oh, I hate you, you stand for everything I distrust and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. If you make it big at like in the game, it's easier to then kind of look up and be like, hey, dude, you know, you can kind of separate yourself. But it's when you start, you know, when there's not enough separation between the character and your real person, that's where it can sometimes those lines can get blurred of like, oh shit, are they actually mad at me? You know, that sort of thing. So like eat it up, play into it, really, really kind of just chomp on it, have fun with it, be dramatic. If your characters hate each other, then have them fucking hate each other and have them understand that they still need to work towards a common goal. But, and you know, especially in the case of Mitch and I, we understood that we needed to work towards a goal, but I was really excited for the moment that we would finally try to kill each other.
Oh, I would have fucking killed you.
Well, that's the thing is we both were like, nah, dude, I'd fucking win. And he's like, no, I'd fucking win. But it's not like this. It's not this. Oh, what? You're questioning my character? What the fuck, you, dude? It's like, no, dude, it'd be fun. It'd be fun to fucking fight each other in the campaign. Enjoy it. It's not a pissing contest. It's just it's a fun moment to have. And you can only have that with your buddy. You can't do this sort of thing with someone you're not extremely comfortable with, because then you don't understand, you know, you don't know if they're being their character or not themselves. You can only do this type of thing with someone that you're close with. So if you and your buddy are doing that, appreciate that you're comfortable enough to do that with each other.
And if you're not sure, just talk about it. You don't have to give away backstory or lore. You can just talk about your role playing at the table. Like, hey guys, I'm just saying, like, my character is going to be a dumb idiot and he's going to walk into shit he probably shouldn't walk into. Or he's going to accidentally fall into traps sometimes, maybe. Or like if he sees monsters, he might be like, guys, we got to go. I'm getting antsy. And he's going to run in there and attack. You just got to make sure they know that. And then it's like, okay, it's fun at the table. Like, oh, fuck, we got to hold Mitch back. He's going to run in there. Someone grab him. It turns into a little party dynamic. That's how you get your character out. It's character. Not everybody has to be a perfect super soldier in the fucking game.
Yeah. Like if you see, you know, some stone that looks a little bit, a little bit loose in the dungeon, and your character rolls a -1 inspection check, sometimes you just got to look up at the party above table and go, guys, it's for the bit, and then take a step and see what happens.
Or
like, that's just what happens.
Dude, classic, iconic, most famous moment of the dumb idiot with the party. Oh, guy, we're all planning our time's up, let's do this, Leroy! And he fucking just runs into the dungeon. And everyone's like, God damn it, Leroy. Like, they know exactly who it is. This is exactly who he is as a guy. And they say, oh, I think he just ran in there. We gotta go save him, go! And then it turns into this fun, iconic moment of everyone's like, come on, we gotta go in. And you see him running, and there's 30 whelps on him. And he's just running around like crazy in there. God damn it, Leroy. At least I have chicken. Yeah, it's iconic. And you know what? If you're always thinking logically as a character, now if you're a very logical character, that makes sense. But if your character has no flaws and they don't do anything fun, or they don't go out of the norm, and they're thinking about it as a player rather than a character, you will never have those moments ever. Yeah, and that's what makes D&D fun, is the fucking chaos. There's even with our dwarves in our campaign, like, logically, we there's a giant fucking dragon right after we killed our friendly characters and this archmage. We killed the archmage. There's nobody else in the room except this giant dragon who's been watching the whole time. He looks evil. That dragon's probably like CR 20 something. We're like level 6. What does my guy do? I have boots of striding and springing. I dash. I'm jumping straight at the fucking dragon's head.
Dude, it's like the Hulk with Surtur.
Yeah, I don't.
Hulk, no,
dude,
big monster.
Yeah, my character might die, and I'm like a little Tasmanian. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go get him. And Tom's character is my brother. He's like, yeah, go get him. And I fucking and I jump over the lava onto the dragon's face, and I'm like literally on this giant dragon. I'm just chopping at him because that's what my guy would do. That dragon, if he wanted, could just fucking kill me, like 100%. But
we were angry dwarves.
That's what my guy would do.
Angry dwarves would gladly die for the cause.
My guy's whole point is he's like, I'm going to find the biggest monster. I'm going to go kill him. I'm going to tear him down. And that's exactly what I did when the fight started. I went over there to the mage, dual wielder, action surge, 8 attacks. Took him out in 1 round. And then it's like, okay, I got to go to the dragon now.
There you go. Yeah, that mage didn't even get a fucking cast off. That's funny. That's the guy that TPK'd us the first time. See, that just speaks to how unbalanced our party was, how bad our party comp was. You throw one mad barbarian in there with him, and he's done.
Yep.
He single-handedly TPK'd our party too last time.
Yeah, but that's what my guy would do.
Yeah.
He runs straight down the middle, straight towards the giant gargantuan dragon that's just sitting there watching us. Yeah, jumps over the lava at him. And then luckily the dragon was a spellcaster too, and not just a big dragon, because he would have eaten me, but instead he just cast maze on me, so I was just gone for a while. I physically couldn't
to a maze.
Yeah, I was just running around in a maze. I physically couldn't escape either because I didn't have high enough intelligence. I have a -2, so so it was cool. Like luckily that happened instead of me dying. But that's how you got to play your character. Play your character. Don't let the players at the table, because of tactics and stuff, bitch you out for not doing something your character would do. But don't do stupid shit to do stupid shit for no fucking reason.
Yeah, don't ruin the game.
Yeah, don't just purposefully kill yourself as a character or do something horrendous that the party's like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't do that. But if your character would do it, then maybe you should.
Yeah, it's this weird dichotomy because like D&D is a party game, so you don't want to do shit that detracts from the campaign to make yourself the main character, whether it's for good or for bad. You want to make a character that fits nicely into the party, but also understand every character has flaws. There's going to be times where your character fucks up, whether it's on you as the player or if it's on your character and you're just leaning into the bid. Everyone at the table should understand if you have good intentions or not. You got to play the game in good faith. We've already talked about this. It's not a new rule, but it's officially a rule. It's in the fucking handbook. You got to play the game in good faith. So that if you're fucking up, you better do it in good faith. Hope that answers your question, Rage Man, for the 4th time.
Yeah, for the 4th time. Hope that answers your question. If it didn't, I don't really care.
Yeah, sorry,
Tom. I finished my beer. Looks like we're about time to wrap up.
I just finished my beer too, so I think we are right at time now.
Yeah, it's time
Might
to
as well start wrapping
leave.
it up.
I ran out of beer. I got to go get more.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monday night.
So we'll leave you here. Thanks for tuning in. Again, this beautiful frame that you are seeing us in, my little sage's Nook and Mitch's dwarven mine. That is all pixel art by Mitch. Mitch, where can they find you on Instagram?
It's fucking, I don't fucking remember.
I
think it's dual wielder _pixel art. I still haven't fucking uploaded anything to that shit. I'm being a lazy bastard, but
I'll put text on the screen. Mitch is a seriously talented pixel artist. The cover for this podcast obviously has been done by him. It's pixel art. So if you need any character art or anything, he charges $1 billion. But that, in today's economy, pretty much anyone can afford that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
$1 billion. I'll settle for somebody to again send me 2,000 gold if I ever go back into My Little Pony Descent into Avernus. My Little Pony Out of the Abyss.
He'll also just tell him that you care about him.
Yeah, I mean, if you tell me that you send hopes and wishes and prayers, like I'm gonna be in a fursuit in a dungeon in the Underdark, it's not gonna be good.
But that's only if you mess up again. You're free for now.
Dude, I'm gonna mess up. I don't read.
I can't read. But you can find me at The Adventure Sage. I'm on TikTok. That's probably where my biggest, not probably, that's where my biggest following is. So if this is probably a good chance if you're watching this, you found out about it from TikTok. But I'm also on Instagram, especially because TikTok is probably going to get banned now. Please, for the love of God, follow my YouTube channel. Follow my Instagram. It sucks that my biggest platform is probably going to go away. So
hey, I mean, the YouTube channel might blow up because of that.
I mean, look, this is kind of what the whole goal of the TikTok was. I wanted to, gain a little bit of traction on TikTok so I could push people towards my longer form content. I really like doing this stuff. I do like my little TikTok rants, but obviously I have bigger ambitions too. I want to write and all that stuff. That's a whole other conversation. But anyways, while you can, follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram, YouTube, at The Adventure Sage. That's my handle all around. And thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with episode 6.
All right, peace. We're out. Let's go. Episode 5. Gah!